everybody. Welcome to episode 46 of Pealed Back's LiveCast Conversations With. Today, our featured guest is Tony Armstrong. Tony is an experienced CEO, leader, entrepreneur, and soon-to-be published author who has a demonstrated history of working in both private sector and government as a CEO, president, and deputy minister. He is highly skilled in developing corporate culture, leadership and professional coaching, strategic planning, and team building. Tony is the Vice President of Envision-U, which is a global force in providing corporations and leaders with intelligent systems and strategies to reach their organization's vision, financial outcomes, and ideal cultural environment. Envision-U programs teach people from entry-level employees to company executives how to be more effective by increasing their sphere of influence on the job and in their personal lives. Companies who act on these insights have gained through Envision-U's programming have successfully upped their revenues by over 200%. Tony, thank you so much for being on the show.
Gene, thank you very much for the invitation. And oh my goodness, that opening video clip, I love that. Like that's got to get a guy pumped up right there. That's awesome.
Well, that's part of it, right? Where people don't see is behind the scenes. I'm usually like dancing and getting the zone on.
Well, good for you. Good for you. Getting in state, we call that.
Exactly.
Getting in state. Perfect.
So, Tony, a lot of great words there to describe your experience where you've been. You know, share a little bit about what has gotten you to where you are today, because that sounds like you've had a whole host of awesome opportunities.
Yeah, that's a great question, a great lead-in, Gene, and and I'm gonna pick up and I'm gonna use that. You said you've had a whole bunch of awesome opportunities, and a person could say, oh yeah, right, but you know what, Gene, we make our opportunities. We make our opportunities. If you're sitting back, if anybody's sitting back waiting, you know what, like I've got the education, or I've got the desire, or I've got whatever it is I think I want to have, and I'm gonna wait here because my opportunity is gonna come, my chance is gonna come, right? Man, you could wait a long time for that, because it's not about opportunities that come your way. It's about opportunities that you create. And when I say, Gene, and interrupt me if I get on a
no, please go ahead.
Say, hey, whoa, time out. I want you to talk about something else.
But, no, I'm already nodding away.
But when we're thinking about opportunity, we want to create those opportunities, and we're completely in charge of that. I've done a lot of great stuff in life, and I'm going to continue to do a whole bunch more of great stuff in life. And it's because I've set out to take and enjoy what I'm doing, to pick accomplishments, to pick tasks, to pick goals, and go after them. And so when I say, about creating our opportunity, oh yeah, well that's, good for you. You can create your opportunity, but I'm stuck in whatever. Yeah. I need to wait. I need a hand up. I need help with that. All the help that you need, all of the hand up that you need, everything that you need is, I'm going to say, physically right between your ears. Well, arguably maybe not, because what's between your ears? Your brain.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we're not talking about the brain, we're talking about the mind.
Oh, I love that you.
Your mind. Yeah. And your mind is more than your brain. Before we actually jumped on this call, I was talking a little bit about epigenetics, and I was talking a little bit about psychocybernetics, and all of those great kind of buzzwords. But what do those buzzwords really boil down to? What the buzzwords boil down to is that you'll live the life that you set out that expectation for. You will live into whatever identity you pick for yourself. And yes, I said you pick for yourself. Your self-image, right? That's what drives you. Who do you see yourself as? And we can hold back and we say, well, I was born into this, and I went to school there, and I did this and I did that. That's almost irrelevant. What's relevant is, what do you want? What do you believe right now, Gene? What do you believe? And you don't need to answer. It's a rhetorical question. Yeah. I didn't want to put you on the spot. But important for people to think about, what is it that I believe right now about myself? What do I believe about myself? And then whatever it is I want in life, what is it that I need to believe?
Right.
What do I need to believe? And I can come back and talk in more depth around that. But, when you talked about accomplishments and such, our mind is a psychocybernetic organism. And our mind, not our brain, our mind is a psychocybernetic organism. What does that mean? That means that your mind has to have a target. It has to have a target, Gene. It's not that, well, maybe it'll have a target. No. So the question comes, if your mind has to have a target, and the answer is yes, it does, is it a target that you're consciously picking, or do you just let it randomly occur? Are you consciously picking what you want and where you want to go, or are you just letting it randomly occur? And how does that randomly occur? If I'm not thinking about it and I'm not setting that goal, that vision for myself, where does it come from? Yeah. Well, hey, I look at this, right behind you on your bookshelf there, and we got Star Trek, we got a Star Wars fighter there, we got some other cool stuff, and so does everybody else. Now, they might not have Star Trek, and they might not have Star Wars stuff,
and we won't hold that against them.
And we won't hold it against them. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Right? And just like how we're going to test my dexterity there. There you go. That's a Spock thing there, right?
Live long and prosper.
That's right. The thing is, though, that everybody has conversations. They have conversations with other people, and they have even more conversations with themselves. They listen to music. They watch social media. They watch television. They watch everything going on around them. All of those things is data. All of that is information going in. If you don't consciously pick a target, your mind will pick a target for you from all of whatever you're feeding it, whatever information is flowing in your way. Unconsciously, without intent, picking that target, it may not be a target that serves you. It might be a target that's completely against what you'd actually like to accomplish in life. But hey, did you take the time to get clear on what it is you do want? And if you did take time, did you take it and make that a target and give your mind that piece to work on? Because that's the trick, my friend, is give it a target. It has to have one. If you don't give it, it'll find one for itself, and it might not be one that serves you.
There's so much to unpack there, and it just, wow, like honestly, like it's so true. It's just like, well, I've compared our subconscious or unconscious to like a supercomputer, right? It's constantly fed data, like the ship that's up behind me. It's got sensors everywhere pulling in information, trying its best to keep you alive, right? And it's going to be doing those things in a manner that goes, oh, this kept you alive yesterday, so this is going to keep you alive today until something changes. But the power of it is, like, what I hear from that is like reaffirm something I've said in the past, is like, you've got the supercomputer and our conscious, like our choice is to go, hey, this is where we want to be pulling to. This is where we're going to program the next goal to. Now let it loose and go off and do its thing. And it's interesting you talk about it going off the road. And I think it was covered in Are You Up for the Challenge, talking about like the clown car going off the road and like getting control back to the wheel again. Is like, if you're constantly not realigning it and going, hey, this is where we're going, then it will make its choices and veer off and towards it, what it thinks is safety.
Well, veer off to wherever.
Yeah.
Really. Your mind really is about wanting to thrive. And it's going to let you define what thrive means. Right. So you have a whole level of yourself that controls your heart rate and your breathing and, and all of that good stuff. And so we just set that aside and let that run happily and do a good job of keeping us thriving. And what we're talking about is that other part, that part that should be intentional. It should be intentional. What kind of relationship I have with other people in my life. Do I have a significant other in my life, and what kind of relationship do I have with that person? Do I have the career that I want to have? Am I having the impact that I want to have? And by impact, it can just simply mean, in my friendships, in my relationships, in my workplace, wherever I want to define those impacts. And really having our mind, setting that vision for ourselves and getting clear on that gives us that target, and the mind needs that target. And to what you were saying there, if we drew a straight line, so if I go from here and I go straight up and I say, okay, this is the target here, and I'm down here, it's never a straight line. It'd be nice to think it is. It is. It never is. And that's okay, because there can be a lot of fun in that. And the power of our mind, though, is that when we know our targets, I'm playing with my camera here, when we know our target is here, and instead of going straight, I might veer over this way a little bit, then I might veer over this way, I might veer over this way, but our mind will always course correct.
Yeah.
It'll always course correct, unless we didn't give it a target, in which case it's just going to amble around and it'll find a target for itself.
That's powerful. One of the things that maybe some people might not be aware of is the difference between the mind and the brain, right? A lot when people think about mind or think about brain, I imagine most people would be like, they're one and the same. How would you describe the difference between those two?
The brain, right, is the tissue right inside here. So it's inside that skull. And there is enough science out there to tell us that we're more than the physical attributes that make us up. So we have limbs, we have a core, we have a head, we have a brain, and yet our mind is more than our brain. And I'm thinking of a couple of books. The Burning Bush is one. The title of the other one that I'll hopefully it'll come to me. But there's enough science there to actually point out that even people that have had serious brain trauma, or even a portion of their brain removed, that it's possible to recover whatever that was responsible for. And that speaks to not so much the brain's ability, but the mind's ability. The mind's ability to take and grow and change. The mind's ability to be more than what just is represented between our ears, inside our skull.
So it's kind of like, maybe I'm flipping it around by saying it's like that consciousness, but it's more like that energy that makes up who you are then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
That's interesting. I've heard there's a Dr. Carolyn Leaf talks about those two perspectives as well a little bit, and it is interesting to hear more and more of that conversation coming up. So we're in a position that we may be ambling around and having difficulty kind of figuring out what it is we want to set that big powerful machine onto. How does somebody go about, I guess, taking that step back and going, oh, I've got goals, or I'm going places, or, God forbid they're focused only, part of it is like, the secret is like setting that goal, but then there's a big component of actually, you talked about, is going after your opportunities and making it happen. So you need to have both those pieces together. How does somebody get started along that if they're like, I don't even know where to begin?
Probably the best thing to do, Gene, is to first ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want? And as a person progresses in life, those things are going to change, and that's good. That's fine. It's not like I get one choice. This is the one thing, and there it is, and I don't get to ask for something different. Don't get to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the first step is really getting clear on what do I want, and when do I want it by? Because I talked about the mind needing a target. The mind also needs a time frame. If you said, well, I want to accomplish whatever. I want to be a CEO. I want to be a CEO of a personal development company, or I want to be the CEO of a pet insurance company, or who knows. So your mind says, oh, okay, all right, we can do that. 10 years goes by, 20 years goes by, 30 years goes by. On the 35th year, you get the knock on the door. Hey, you know what? You've been doing some great work in our organization over the last 35 years. We'd like you to come in and maybe take a crack at running the place. Now, of course, the conversation is going to sound a little bit different than that.
Yeah.
I'm being a little bit facetious. And to make the point, though, your mind delivered.
Yeah.
35 years later. Now, did you want to wait 35 years for that? Or did you want to say, oh, just a second, I want this in my life by this time? Right? And it almost doesn't matter what it is that you say you want. And it almost doesn't matter what time frame you attach to it. What matters is your level of belief about it. Your level of belief. Look at a guy like, Musk, right? Elon Musk, right? Like, seriously? Multiple launch rockets, space stations, crews flying. Richard Branson.
Both those men are excellent examples of the power of belief behind their goals.
Exactly, because if they had said, if I was either one of them, and I said, I'm going to build a reusable rocket, or a reusable, in Branson's case, a reusable re-entry vehicle. In Musk, I'm going to use a reusable rocket. I'm going to use it to shuttle crews to space stations. As a matter of fact, I'm going to build a space station, and I'm going to put it up there. Any of us could say that. The difference with those two guys, setting the money aside for a moment, is that they believe they could do it. They believe that, look, I can pull the resources together. I don't need to know all of those things. I just need to know that it's doable, and that I will attract the right people into my life to make it happen. So that's the fundamental piece. One, they set a vision of what do I want and when do I want it by. And secondly, they 100% believed that they could do it. Now, when I started talking about them, I said, set the money aside. Right? So I don't want a listener saying, oh, well, yeah, that's easy. Like, look, they're both rich. Like, I have no idea how much money those guys have got. They might not know how much money they've got, although I'm being facetious there. You're darn right they know how much money they've got.
Yeah.
Why do they have that much money? Because they set a vision.
Both of them started in the trenches, right? Like there is video of a very young Elon in his like broken down white Ford, like whatever the Escort version was back in the day. Right.
So the reason they have the financial capabilities because they had a vision. And they had belief in themselves around that. Yeah. The reason that both of them are having this success and will continue to have this success in the space venture, is because they have the belief around that. And so the first thing we do as human beings, we have a success mechanism, right? The first thing is setting that vision. What do you want and when do you want it by? And then what do you need to believe? What do you need to believe in order for that? Who do you need to be? Who do you need to be? Because if you were the person you need to be building rockets right now to launch to the space station, guess what? You'd already be doing it. So what do you want? When do you want it by? What do you need to believe? And who do you need to be? You line those four things up and you're well on the road.
It's almost like, just be punny here, but it's rocket fuel for it, right?
Your shelf behind you, Gene, is taking over the theme of this.
Well, I think that belief is a really important component to it, right? Because like you're going to hit road bumps along that way. And so if you don't have those beliefs really tied and like grounded in you, when you hit a road bump, be like, oh, well, there was my evidence that this wasn't going to work. The first bump, I'm out. Toodles, no one's going to get to Mars that way. And we can use that for whatever goal somebody's trying to work towards. It's like, it doesn't matter how big you talked about size of impact, doesn't matter. It's like whatever impact you're looking to have on your life, if you don't have the ability to weather some bumps, you're never going to get there and make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you the staying power, and it speeds things up.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, you're kind of thinking that you're going to treadmill it. You're just going to keep going around and around and around. Eventually, I'm going to get there. No, you're going to be in exactly the same spot.
Yeah.
You're going to be in the same spot. And the interesting thing about getting really clear on where am I going, so my vision, what do I want, when do I want it by, and then what do I need to believe, who do I need to be? Throwing a fifth element in there, why? Why
is this important to you?
Sure. Well, yeah. Why does it matter to you? Why do you want that? And when you throw that in, then the likelihood of speed bumps occurring, the stronger you get in those 5 areas, the less likely those speed bumps are. And if they do show up, they're just little bumps. And all they do really is provide an opportunity for a little bit of a course correction. Just a little bit of like, oh, okay, all right, I need to just do it a little bit different here. I need to do it a little bit different there. The rocket that they're using, that Elon and his crew are using right now, that's not the rocket that they set up to design initially. It was probably something quite different. But they knew exactly what they wanted. They knew when they wanted it by. They knew why they wanted that, what they needed to believe. They had to believe it was possible, or why even start, right? Why even start? And who do I need to be? How committed do I need to be to this process? And the little speed bumps that they experienced along the way, all that did was refine the end product. It just refined the vision for them. It
reinforced it, right? Whereas versus it ripping it apart, like as you're describing it, like the vision that comes to my mind around, that goal is as you add those five layers onto it, it becomes like a shock absorber, right? So it doesn't matter like if you're going over a huge speed bump or not, the shock absorber is cushioning all that and allowing your goal to continue to progress forward. And as you strip those layers away, it's getting every speed bump you hit, you're hitting a raw nerve versus just hitting that shock absorber.
Well, totally. Yeah.
So talk about, like that's, and as well, like we're, continue on the train of like a space race right now is like the people that are succeeding at it. I look at it as like their failures, like you talked about, are not a bad thing, but they've become learners, right? Like instead of, I wonder if their focus or like their culture is all about how fast can we learn? How fast can we blow this next one up? And what can we take from it, right? Where you read the media and it's just like, oh, they had another failure. I guarantee you in that office, they're like, wow, what did we learn? We didn't think we could blow it up that way. Great, now on to the next one. And now they're doing things that were said 5 years ago, not even possible to accomplish.
Right.
So how do we then take all those 5 things that we've wrapped around our goal, empower it with that learner mindset, that each of those speed bumps is a chance to get that goal sharper and crisper, and you use the word clarity, right? So how do we add more clarity to it with every bump?
Yeah. Gene, do you know with Thomas Edison, how many light bulbs? How many light bulbs?
I think it was like 1,000 or something, wasn't it?
10,000.
10,000.
10,000. There was a lot. And Thomas Edison said, all he had done was learn 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yeah.
That's all he learned. Yeah. And so it's a matter of perspective, isn't it? It's not a question of failure, to your point. It's a question of, all right, we tried that, what did we learn? Okay, we tried this, what did we learn? We tried this, what did we learn? In martial arts, as I was learning my taekwondo and going for first degree black belt, second degree black belt, and on. It was when you're sparring, when you're doing patterns, when you're doing any of those kinds of activities, physical or mental, and it happens mentally first and then physically manifests.
Yeah.
It really is a question of, all right, how did that feel? How can I make it better? How did that feel? How can I make it better? And a guy like Thomas Edison, Elon Musk, anybody that's successful never feels like, okay, I'm finished.
No.
They're never finished. It's always just moving it to the next level, and always continually improving. And if that's your mindset, if that's the perspective you've got, rather than thinking of, oh, well, I tried that and it failed, to your point, I tried that, what did I learn? That's a huge shift in mindset. And it's a really important shift in mindset. Because if you look at something and you think, oh, well, I failed, that didn't work. Now, the chances of you beating yourself up, the chances of you not believing in yourself grow.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking, okay, there's value in everything I do. Value in everything I do. How does what I'm doing right now add to what I want to accomplish? And it doesn't matter what that accomplishment is. How does it add to me being happy? How does it add to me having a better life? And however I define that. How does it add to the physical accomplishments that I want, the recognition that I want, all of those pieces. And I touched on recognition for a point, in that when we're thinking, we talked about I talked about a vision, I talked about identity, talked about other aspects there. And when we're looking at accomplishing those things, whether it's Elon or anybody else, there are 6 basic human emotional needs, and we all share them. And some of them are more what drive us than what drive others. So those 6 emotional needs are significance, certainty, self-esteem, and actually I'm just going to look at my note here. Self-esteem, I wanted to point out here that when we say self-esteem, I'm also talking about self-image and identity. Connection, growth, and variety. So of all of those 6, 2 of them, everybody needs pretty much to an equal extent. And the 2 that everybody needs pretty much to an equal extent is growth and variety. And people may exercise their growth in different ways, and people will exercise their variety in different ways. But every human being looks for growth, and every human being looks for variety. So the other 4, significance, connection, self-esteem, and empowerment, when we look at those 4, one of those 4 at any given time will be driving why you're doing something. And it's really a healthy exercise if you kind of back up. So, for people that listen to the podcast, significance, self-esteem, connection, empowerment, variety, growth. The first 4, again, significance, self-esteem, connection, and empowerment. Whatever you're doing, whether it's a conversation or setting up, going for dinner, or why are you doing what you do at work, and I don't mean your job description at work, but why are you doing the specific thing you're doing at work right now?
Right.
If you can look at that and you can ask yourself, and you don't need to share it with anybody, but why, it's going to be for one of those 4. It's going to be for significance, which can also be another word to put in place of significance. It can be recognition. Right. So do I do this? Am I doing this because I want significance or I want recognition? There's no good or bad about it. It's fine. But am I doing it for that reason? Am I doing it because I'm doing it to empower myself or empower others? Am I doing it because it gives me self-esteem? It makes me feel good about myself. It improves my self-image. It relates to my identity. Connection. Am I doing it because I want to be part of the team? I want to feel part of the community. I want that connection piece. And when we can look at that, when we can answer those things for ourselves, it takes a vulnerable person, an open person, to share that.
Yeah.
And you don't need to share it. However, when you can take the time to ask yourself, why do I have this conversation? Why am I on this call with Gene? And I think about those 4 or 6 things. And why do I do that? And when you take the time, whomever is listening, to answer for yourself, why do you do the things that you do, and sort those things out, it will be very empowering, which is one of those needs. It will be very empowering for you, because then you have some insight into, okay, that's why I like to do that. Because it gives me that sense of recognition, or it gives me that sense of empowerment, or it helps me feel good about myself because I'm empowering someone else.
So it's like it almost sounds like an audit somebody should be doing on themselves on a regular basis in the middle of a task or something, to bring some more awareness to it. And as you're talking, like, the thing that comes to mind is, like, now we almost go back full circle to getting back to our clarity and intentionally setting our goals, right? If we're starting to, I asked the question of, like, how do we get started? Well, maybe that's another way to get started, where I don't know quite yet what my goals are, but what's actually driving what I'm doing right now? And is that something, the person I want to be? Is that the person I believe I want to be, or the person I need to be to grow up and eventually get that clarity, right? Like, these are all, like, these are really tactical pieces people can take today and start to implement for themselves, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if we play that out, Gene, we think about, those 6 basic emotional needs. Recognize that we all have them. Recognize that we're not making a value judgment on, oh, this one's good and that one's bad. No, we're human, right? We happen to have 2 arms. It's not good, it's not bad. It's just, we have 2 arms.
That's what we have.
It's okay.
It just is.
It just is. We have 6 basic human emotional needs. So don't put value judgments on them, but recognize that you have them. Right. Some are going to be more important to you than others. Having an understanding of which ones are important to you and why they're important to you is very empowering for you. Okay, I understand myself better. I now know why I do the things that I do. And if I don't like those things, I know now how I can change that.
Right.
So we get clear on that. So if we roll it all the way back, I'm going to bump in a couple of more pieces here. So we think vision, what do I want and when do I want it by? That's vision. Then I think of, okay, goals. What are goals? Well, goals are milestones. They're markers on the road to your vision. All right. So you have a vision. What do I want by when? My goals are my markers on the road to my vision. Why do I want that? What's my purpose? Why do I want that? Who do I need to be? What do I need to believe? And when I've got those things clear, what are my behaviors? So we think of those 6 basic emotional needs. Those are going to drive your behaviors.
Yeah.
Do my behaviors serve me? When I think of not who I am, but who do I want to be? Who you are is fine. The important question for you is, who do I want to be? When I think of who I want to be and what do I need to believe, and then I look at my behaviors are probably driven by one or more of those 6 basic emotional needs. Do my behaviors serve me? And the way you can tell whether your behaviors serve you is behaviors done often enough become habits. Behaviors and habits are what drive your results. They're what you get. If you're not getting what you want, you have a habit issue. You have a habit problem. You have a behavior problem. right? And so just have a look at it. Well, if my results aren't what I want them to be, right, then where do I need to adjust to get the results that I want? What are the results? Oh, all the way back to the front of the line. It was that vision thing, right? And it was the goals, those markers along the road. So if I'm not getting my results, if I'm not hitting my goals, my landmarkers along the road to my vision, so I'm not getting the results, the two things that are getting in the way, it's either habits or behaviors. Habits or behaviors driven by my beliefs. What do I believe? What do I need to believe?
Right.
Why? Who do I need to be? And where am I going?
I hope everyone that listens, it gets their pen and paper out and go take that back by 2 minutes and write that whole. Tony just gave you the map on it all.
There you go.
That's the whole map right there. That is it, and it's a lot of. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's a lot of internal work to do, but it's the worthy reflection work to live a life that you're going to be able to provide your, sustain your growth and the right amount of variability for you. Yeah. And for some listening out there, we've talked about like Elon and some very powerful people that have done incredible things. There's no shade on be like, I want to live a happy life, and being really clear on what a happy life means, be it be a great husband, be a great father, and getting clear about what those mean. Those are worthwhile visions just as much as trying to get to Mars, right? So like there's no, just like Tony talked about us having two arms, like two sets of goals doesn't matter as long as they're there and they're helping driving you to be a productive member of our society, right? I think that's an incredible part.
Gene, I love that you underlined, and I'm going to speak to that. The reason I used Elon Musk as an example was because that's so far out there for most people. It's so far out there. Like, what? Like, okay, this dude, Tesla, right? And whatever else he's got going on, and rockets and space station and all of that. That's not to say that everybody needs to have a vision like that. I mean, that's a huge vision, and it's a great vision. But there's no saying that your vision needs to be like Elon Musk's vision. No, your vision needs to be your vision for whatever your reasons are. And there's no, oh, well, I've just got a little one. No, it's your vision.
Yeah.
It's your vision. Celebrate it. Get clear on it. Celebrate it. And then follow that path. Why do you want that? What do you need to believe? Who do you need to be? What behaviors are you exhibiting? What habits have you developed?
Yeah.
What results are you getting? If your results aren't what you want, then you need to go back and look at those other pieces, because it will, my friend, come down to a belief issue.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it'll come down to a belief issue, and we can just change our beliefs. Our mind, to bring it full circle, our mind always operates on the information that we feed it. A really beautiful thing about our mind is that our mind cannot tell the difference between what's happening physically right in front of us and what we imagine. Can't tell the difference. All kinds of studies on that. I remember one study that they did with basketball, with basketball. They took 3 groups of basketball players, and they ran them all through a test. And it was, I think, for half an hour, they had to shoot baskets and count how many they sunk. And then they divided them into 3 groups. The first group, so group A, they had to mentally rehearse shooting baskets, but not physically go to the court at all. Every day, mentally rehearse shooting baskets. Group B, do nothing. Group C, go to the court and physically practice doing it.
Yeah.
The difference in results between Group A, the mental rehearsal only, so all imagination, against Group C had a 23% increase in baskets. Group A had a 21% increase in baskets. 2% difference. Group A, it was all in the imagination. So whatever stories you're telling yourself about any situation in life, including who you are, what you believe in, what you think you can do, what you think you can't do, where you think you can go, your mind is listening all the time.
Constantly.
And every minute is here. Every hour is here. Every day is here. You can take and make it work for you, or you can take and have it mess with you. And I'm just saying the challenge here, the opportunity, the beauty in this life, and the beauty in what Gene's offering you through these podcasts or these video demonstrations is the ability to take and pick up and make those minutes, those hours, those days count towards whatever it is you want. Nobody's here to give a value judgment of like, oh, you need to be Elon Musk, or oh, you need to be, a fantastic golfer, or no. You decide what rings your bell, what makes you feel good, what will make you feel fulfilled, what will make you happy. Pick up the tools, imagine it. It's the most powerful tool you've got. Imagine it. Imagine yourself where you want to be. Imagine yourself who you want to be. Imagine how that feels. What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What do you wear? How do you talk? How do you show up?
Deep visualization.
Yeah, and when you do that, holy smoke, your mind is going to say, Gene, I'm on it. Okay, the gap's here. I hate a gap. This is my mind speaking. I hate a gap. I'm going to do everything I can to close that gap. And the way I'm going to close that gap is, you said it, you're going to dress this way? Okay, I'm going to start that way. It smells like this. It tastes like this. It feels like this. It'll all come true. Guaranteed. It'll all come true. What results do you want? If you're not, get clear on that. Write them out. What's your vision? If you're not getting the results that you want, it's a habit and beliefs issue. It's a habits and behaviors. Your behaviors and habits are driven by your beliefs.
Man, this is such a great episode. I'm kind of speechless and just nodding along, which if anybody's listening, they can't obviously see me nodding, but like there's just so much information dropped there. When we talked before we started the show, I said I want people to get a gem from each episode, and like they're walking away with a bag full because of this conversation today, Tony. It's just very powerful. And as well, I said we were probably going to get to like 40 minutes. I'm going to look up and go, whoa, time. So we're at 43 minutes. So I want to be respectful of your time, big time. This is just so much greatness here to unpack. And I look forward to going back and just listening back to this. So, it comes back down to like, who do you believe you are, and getting some clarity around all of it. And I like the bit about like, we talk about visualization, and I just want to add one piece in there. Sometimes you may feel like you are in a situation that you might not be able to physically take those actions. And so start visualizing yourself taking them. And like Tony says, your mind is going to go, oh, good, we can do those things. You're going to find that they're going to start showing up. I've done that in the past many times, and it's uncanny how often that if you put in the work and put in that belief, they line up and they go for it. So Tony,
well said.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Before I let you go, I always ask every guest, we're going to jump into my time machine. We're going to set it for 10 years ago, and we're going to zoom back in time. We get to open the door, and you get to give yourself one piece of advice. What would you give yourself, that one piece of advice?
Create a bloody big vision. Don't think small. Don't think small. Think really big. Think scary big. Think scary big, because you can do it. You can do it. And the only limitation is the limitation you set on yourself. That would be the advice I would give myself. And I do now. I do now. And so I would share that with everybody else. Don't be scared. Don't let this worry you. Think big. Set a big goal.
Go big. Whatever that goal is, go big for you and be a little bit scared.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it, Tony. Thank you so much, sir. And everybody else, thank you for watching episode 46 of the LiveCast Conversations With. Next week on episode 47, we have Mark Gordon. We're going to talk about relationships within the family structure. Until then, we'll see you all next time.
Bye, everybody.